Hi, John Marshall, the Drill Master. So this is the second Effingham County High School color guard in competition. So I'll just label this number 2. The other video that I just did is number 1. Not that one is, first or second or whatever. Just needed a way to separate them. Don't know whether it's varsity, junior varsity, or what. Anyway, let's get on with the critique. So the keepers, the metal tabs that are on the ceremonial belt, they need to go 1 inch, a thumb's width actually, average thumb that is, 1 inch from the belt buckle, and nowhere else. And so what you can do is, because they look like a big kind of a squared off C shape, and they'll slide rather easily, and you can either double up the belt a little bit, make it even triple the width, or you can take a cloth, put it on the keeper at the top and the bottom, and then a pair of pliers, and just lightly squeeze so that the bottom piece and then the top piece as well just come in just a bit, so it's a little bit tighter and will stay in place. All right, so let's get on with the critique. So as in the other one, oh, okay, we're already marching. Okay. Oh. All right. So you gave it at close interval, dress right dress. It's not necessary. When you fall in, you get your distance, you get your alignment. That's it. That's when you fall in. You don't give close interval, dress right dress after that, because there's no need. You already have your distance, you already have your alignment. So all right, and guards, you're marching without arm swing. Why is that? Now, so the Air Force follows the Marine Corps order because the Air Force actually marches at the outside, what we in the Air Force call the outside shoulder, what the Marine Corps, Navy, and Coast Guard call the outboard shoulder. So in order to not look goofy and have 1 arm going out and then 3 arms going out, we just suspend arm swing. Marching with suspended arm swing is for that, is a requirement in that situation. You're both at right shoulder. You don't march. You're using Army techniques. You don't march with suspended arm swing. And your suspended arm swing means that your hand stays in position and your thigh moves back and forth, whether it's up and down for the mark time or back and forth for marching forward. So you're not using the technique properly, and you really shouldn't be applying it at all. And you have throat straps instead of chin straps. Nicely done with keeping the tempo as you're marching through. However, you're stomping, and look at the height and also the foot angles as well. So you just let your foot naturally hang, toe strikes, heel comes down, toe leaves last, toe strikes first, toe leaves last, toe strikes first. And some people, it just doesn't, it doesn't work that way because they haven't used specifically those muscles, actively used those muscles before. And it's just always been passive because they're walking. And that first step, it almost looks like you're going, trying to, just be a little careful. You're walking on some glass or something, and you're toe striking just like the other team did. Don't toe strike. It's a heel strike, just like this. This is exactly what your first step should look like. So tiny bit of phasing, with heel up in the air still, but really nice job. So here, Air Force, this is, it's difficult, honestly, to judge Air Force teams because do we just completely eliminate all of the Air Force techniques, or do we implement some? It's really quite strange. Glad to see that the harness sockets are at the same level. The reason I say that is because hands really should be completely closed. There should be no space. That's Air Force technique. What you're doing here is kind of Army technique, but Army technique has a split right here at the heel of the butt of the rifle. And so harness sockets are a bit too low. They're at the same level. That's great, but really they should be just a couple inches below the ceremonial belt. And you can still have them at the same level, no problem. Oh, and this is an interesting thing to consider. So you can see both of the color bearers are almost the same height, almost very, very close. You can see her chin is just slightly above. It's kind of at his mouth level. So, you know, maybe what, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, probably 2 inches. And then waist level is maybe even a 3-inch or so difference, maybe a little bigger, but still they have the harness sockets at the same level. So well done. That's good. Still a little too low, but well done. And then, you know, here with the cradle technique, that's Marine Corps technique. Army technique is to actually have the whole arm on the rifle like this. Marine Corps, Army. So Air Force JROTC says, forget all of the Air Force techniques and just do Army. Well, does that mean absolutely everything? Does that mean... So it's a little convoluted, as far as I'm concerned. It's not exactly something that I support either. Well done on the horizontal arms. That's good. So don't. Okay, so guards don't execute a tiny facing movement. That is a face in march. That's supposed to be. And then, nope, that's not what we do. So the guards come out. They turn around. They execute an about face. And then the commander says, uncase the colors. At that point, you bring the staff out and then down, pull it in, I would suggest, so it's not way out there and you've got that heavy weight out in front of you at the very end. But guards, you don't just come out and then in. You're actually going to come out, about face, and then you're going to come in at an angle so that you stop here, not out here, because now you're going to have to sidestep, 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 and you don't have to do any of that. You come out, turn around, and then march in at an angle and end up here. But you have to stop. So good. I liked the other team's head snap. And then there's where you sidestep, not the other way around. Okay, you don't bring the staff consistently up like that, and you also don't jerk it up as well. So the reason why the military uses 3x4 flags and not 3x5, and this looks like 3x5 flags. The reason we use 3x4 is because the average height male back in the 1800s wasn't tall enough to hold the staff out under the arm. You're doing that. That's a good job there. And you're also unfurling really well. It's just a constant roll. That's very good. But it's supposed to be unrolled so that the spade comes flat, the flag hangs straight down. Most color bearers, especially in high school, aren't tall enough to do that. So then you raise the staff up a little bit So here, look, you've got feet of room here, and you don't have to do this. You don't have to keep bringing the staff up, because you're never going to see when the spade is flat unless you look up, and you shouldn't look up because you're supposed to be at attention, looking straight forward. And both of you are looking up. So not exactly the best technique here. So this is interesting. You are totally different from the other team here. Good job, guards. That's exactly the hand hold, or the case hold technique that you're supposed to have. Probably want to tuck the... so try not to... no elbow flare. Elbow flare doesn't exist. You're using Army technique, so relax the elbow. You need to thrust out in one count and thrust back in one count. Not... and I know that it is a big and heavy object, especially for females. You don't have the upper body strength that that a male has. But then again, some males have that difficulty as well. But it really should be that nice, firm push forward, that thrust. So let's go back. Let's see what we're doing here. So don't move on present. That's not a technique to use. It's present, arms, grab, salute. Order, arms, all the way down, under, drop. That's the technique. Okay, so hold on just a sec. I have to go take care of something with my mother-in-law, and I'll be right back. So, yeah, and I'll talk about the case tuck technique in just a second here. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, so case, pink rag, hands or the belt. That's what it should look like. Having the case draped over like this, especially having the strings out and all, it's very sloppy. That's not the way it's supposed to look. Now, for competition, you know, I get it. You have a certain time limit, but you really need to practice so that that whole sequence of folding the case, tucking the case into the belt like this, you know, putting it in and then pushing it down, and then having it end up with pretty much equal amounts squared off. That's what it really needs to look like. And then at any kind of ceremony, never put the case in your belts. That looks awful. It doesn't communicate well at all. Really, the only time you're supposed to do an uncasing sequence is on base, on post, with all just military there. So all kinds of technique issues that the Air Force JROTC anyway seems to have. Spades should be flat, always flat. It's only the Marine Corps, Navy, and Coast Guard that. So, what's interesting is that the Marine Corps cuts the cake. They take when they go to present, it's flat, and then they go to present. I'm watching myself just to make sure it's in the camera. When they go to present, it's turned. The spade is turned so that it is the sharp edge, more or less, forward. Why? I have no idea. Don't know where that comes from. But it's called cutting the cake. That technique. Nobody else does it. And I can go on as to why, but it doesn't matter. So keep that spade flat the whole time, which means you need a spade marker. Oh, you did do that. Why did you turn? Why did you extend your wrist and turn out like that? You need to go out and then back and not turn the staff. So I didn't notice that the other team did that, but you actually you went here and you brought the staff back, and now it's flat. So you need spade markers. And so your colors reverse. It's a series of faces in marching. Your mark time is at different height. So that first step should be a heel strike again. Shouldn't speed up through your wheel movement, but that was a lot slower than the other team, so that was much better. You didn't whip around really quickly. And so both teams are executing the pivots with 2 feet, actually pivoting on 2 feet, whether it's 2 toes or a toe and a heel. So mark time for the Air Force is going to be, so don't stomp on that last step. Never stomp. You're not supposed to jolt your body. You're not supposed to slam your foot into the not supposed to slam your foot into the marching surface. So parade rest here, you're supposed to have, and again, see, do we follow every single minute technique for the Army, or do we just use right shoulder and the carry technique and then the casing uncasing? How far does this go? There isn't any guidance from Air Force JROTC. It's just, we'll use Army technique. Well, where does it begin? Where does it end? Don't know. It was an unresearched decision by an individual, and that's unfortunate. It really is. It has all kinds of implications that really were not considered because, well, never mind, doesn't matter. Anyway, so when you bring Army or Air Force, doesn't really matter, when you bring the rifle forward for parade rest, don't slide your hand up. Wherever your hand rests when you're on the rifle, when you're at attention, that's the same place you keep the hand as you bring it out. So ready cut is not a technique either. You're using Army techniques, and Air Force doesn't use all of the Marine Corps techniques. If you're trying to go for some kind of ceremonial implementation, that doesn't work either. You're not supposed to use that. Marine Corps uses ready cut. Ceremonial techniques use ready cut. You're not supposed to use that Marine Corps technique of ready cut, and you're not supposed to use ceremonial technique. If you were actually marching the Air Force Drill and Ceremonies Manual, you'd go to the Marine Corps order and use the techniques for going to outside shoulder, what the Marine Corps calls outboard shoulder, and that would be the end of the technique. You'd go, and then, well, you'd have to use the very beginning of the colors chapter that shows you how to go to present, how to go to order, and then how to all the manual of the rifle for going to the outside shoulder and order and present. So all of that in that first section, that's what the Air Force requires. And then the other techniques, you default to Army. But there are specific Air Force techniques in there that should be followed. And again, you know, where does it begin? Where does it end? Really don't have that guidance. So that was a much better tempo application for that wheel. Seemed to speed up with your right wheel, sorry, your left wheel, honestly. So right rifle guard, you're looking in, trying to make sure that you're in step. Yeah, it's so I'll put the link to the colors reverse training video. It's going to be very different for you. So it should be eyes right, execute, and then ready, front, execute. Eyes right on the right, ready front on the left. Yeah, you do speed up just a bit more with the left wheel, I think, which is interesting. So on that left wheel, actually, the right rifle guard was dragging behind just a bit, instead of all four maintaining that solid line. Right rifle guard was a little bit behind. So left guard, you're constantly looking in. And you're used to that position. You're used to doing that. Keep your mouth closed. Unless you're having difficulty breathing, I get that, you might be. But still, try and keep your mouth closed the entire time that you're marching. All right. So that was a quick end, an abrupt end. So the other team, as they marched off, they executed a left face from line formation, which put them in the reversed column formation. It's not called reversed column formation. It's called, anyway, it's column formation that is the opposite of, and now I can't think of it. Anyway, reversed column formation will suffice. So that left guard was leading, then the Georgia flag was in front of the American flag. Never, ever, ever do that. That's not the technique to use. And then look here with the different application of the right hand. The fingers should be wrapped around the small of the stock. We don't do this. Actually, the Air Force doesn't do it at all for ceremonial or regulation drill. It's always been wrapped. And that pointing the fingers forward, definitely not a technique that any service uses. So fingers together completely, unless there happens to be some sort of physical difference that you just can't get over, which is that happens. That'll work for whatever is necessary, but you really need to have uniformity of technique there. All right, so that finishes my my critique. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it.